Hi, everyone, and welcome along to the Ergonomically Speaking podcast, the podcast that aims to help you reduce and even eliminate work related discomfort. I'm your host, Neve Pentney of Boyne Ergonomics. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you're able to take away some useful practical advice from this podcast to help you reduce your own risk of discomfort at the workplace or help manage the risks among the people that you might be responsible for. So now that we know why we're here, let's get started. Hello, and welcome along to another episode of the Ergonomically Speaking podcast with myself, Neve Pentney of Boyne Ergonomics. I just realised as I got my bits and pieces together to record this episode that this is actually the 50th episode of the Ergonomically Speaking podcast, which I cannot believe. I cannot believe we've done 49 previous episodes. I hope there was something useful for you in there. In the last 14 episodes, I have never asked anybody to rate, comment, share any of these things relating to podcasts that I hear so many podcasters doing. But absolutely, if you come across an episode or if you come across content that you think is useful or would be useful to someone that you know, please by all means share it. I'm here to make all this information as accessible as possible and to spread the good word about ergonomics and the positive impact it can have on you in the workplace. So please do share if you come across something that you think would be of interest. The topic that I'm looking at today is the role of ergonomics in boosting productivity. And the reason is often you'll see in my blog posts, in my content, or hear me talking about ergonomics to keep workers safe, to keep workers healthy, and to keep you productive. But I've never really elaborated on that. Productivity and performance, they are critical for success at both the individual and the organizational level. And I know myself in the last while, I'm increasingly coming across podcasts, articles, social media with tips for improving productivity, like time blocking, sleep quality, reducing distractions, avoiding multitasking, using AI, and all these kind of productivity hacks. And this kind of got me thinking about really what role ergonomics can play in enhancing both your productivity and organizational productivity. So I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive into this. And the absolute irony of this episode is this topic has been in my drive for, I'm going to say about 3 months. And I've been dipping in and out of it, trying to pull the information together. And I just kept, it's such a vast area. I just kept getting pulled into tangents. And I really struggled to be able to pull this one together in a way that would be condensed enough and easy enough to follow to make sense because there's so many parts to this. There is a blog post available on this already if you want to go give it a read. As always, the link will be in the show notes, but we're going to do a bit of a dive into it. So, generally speaking, when employees or when you work in an ergonomic environment, you're going to experience fewer distractions like back pain or wrist discomfort. Because apart from being painful, they are distracting. It means generally you can focus more intently on tasks. Ergonomics can also help conserve energy, which kind of, in theory, should give you a higher level of performance throughout the day, can help improve workflow, efficiency, engagement, and long term reduce absenteeism. And all these benefits will increase productivity individually and organizationally. And these areas are going to be the focus of this podcast. So, first, what we're going to look at is if you have reduced physical strain, in theory, you should have improved concentration. Pain and discomfort is a distraction. Imagine trying to focus on, and we've probably been there, I know I have. Imagine trying to focus on your important work tasks or in your meetings when your neck is killing you, your back is sore, your hip is sore, you're getting a tingle in your hand. Like this is really, really common. And pain and discomfort, particularly if it's from poor posture or kind of awkward workstation setups, can have a direct and a negative impact on concentration. We know this. When the body experiences discomfort, whether it's that you've been sitting in a car that doesn't have the right back support, or you're constantly kind of looking up or looking down at a really badly positioned screen or your phone, it will send signals to the brain that something is wrong. like discomfort will send signals that something is wrong. These pain signals are demanding attention from your brain. They want your brain to listen to try and figure out what's wrong. And this is going to pull mental resources away from the task that you're actually trying to do, redirecting them to try and manage the discomfort. So, therefore, you're not only going to struggle with being in pain, but you're going to find it harder to concentrate, process information, and solve problems. And this constant battle between the kind of physical discomfort and the mental focus is going to drain your cognitive energy. It's going to leave you feeling fatigued and a little bit scattered. And even little minor discomforts, if this is being experienced every day or for a long time, will have a cumulative effect to reduce the ability to stay sharp and productive throughout the day. On the other hand, if you are working or you have your workers working at an ergonomic workstation, one that is designed for the task and for the person, this should minimize physical strain, which will allow yourself or the employees to devote more of your mental resources to the actual task at hand. So, for example, if you have a compliant ergonomic chair that has good adjustable lower back support, this will help keep the spine in its natural curved position. Remember, the spine is curved, not straight. This is going to reduce the pressure on the lower back, and this pressure can often lead to pain. So, if you reduce the pressure, in theory, you're going to have less pain. If you just look at the back, for example, when the back is supported, you are less likely to kind of shift around uncomfortably in your chair, trying to find comfortable positions. Keep you focused on your work instead of focus on trying to minimize your discomfort. Equally, if we look at the computer screen, if the screen is too high or too low, you got to tilt your head up, tilt your head down, causing neck tension and repetitive strain. But by just having the monitor in the right position, it means that you or your employees can maintain a nice neutral head position, reducing neck strain. Simple adjustments that can eliminate really, really common sources of distraction, allowing you or your workers to concentrate better on the task. That's the physical side. If we have a look at cognitive performance, ergonomics has a direct influence on cognitive performance. So if the body is properly supported, the brain's not being pulled in multiple directions of focus, it frees up your cognitive capacity for creative thinking, problem solving, decision making. Studies have shown that when employees are comfortable, they're more likely to maintain focus for longer periods and experience less mental fatigue. So, from this point of view, there is a clear advantage to having an ergonomically designed and laid out workstation. By reducing physical strain, you and the workers are less likely to be distracted by discomfort, leading to improved concentration, better efficiency, and ultimately then higher productivity levels. If the workstation is designed properly for the task and for the person, you'll remove physical barriers, which will allow yourself or your employees to fully engage with what they need to do for work and perform at their best. The next area we're going to look at is energy conservation and reduce fatigue. If we look at adverse postures, poor postures, as we might know them, poor posture can seem like a minor thing, looking at somebody kind of slouched and slumped in their workstation. But over the course of the day, it can actually drain your energy. If you're slouched, hunched over your desk, or if you're awkwardly reaching for the keyboard or reaching for the mouse, this is unnecessary strain and work on the muscles. And this is going to cause the muscles to get fatigued, even if you're not moving that much. Remember, we've talked before about the term static loading, where the muscles are working, but there's not a lot of movement. Maintaining a bad posture actually requires a constant kind of low level muscle engagement, particularly of the back, the shoulders, the neck. And this will eventually wear the body down over time. If you look at slouching forward, for example, because this is probably one of the most common positions I see when I'm dealing with people who are working from home, slouching forward causes the muscles in the upper back and the neck to work overtime because they're supporting the head. So the head on average weighs in and around 5 kilos. When the head is out of alignment, so your normal kind of head and neck alignment is ear over shoulder. When the head is out of this alignment, so head forward, for example, it puts pressure on the muscles, causing fatigue and soreness. Equally, if your mouse is too far away from you because your keyboard might be too wide for your stature, it's going to strain the muscle in the shoulder and arms. Again, depleting energy reserves. And these little things, they might seem small on their own, but if you're sat at your workstation 8 hours a day, give or take, days and weeks, this is all going to build up, causing early fatigue, reduced stamina, and ultimately decreased productivity. So, this constant battle again between maintaining an inefficient posture, because remember, optimum postures or efficient postures are the ones that have the least amount of strain on the tissues and the joints are working in their optimum position. So anything outside of that means that you're expending energy just to keep yourselves in that position or trying to keep yourselves comfortable. Energy that could be channeled into performing tasks, staying focused, and producing better quality work. And as the day goes on, you might find yourself physically drained, a little bit mentally foggy, and unable to sustain the same level of productivity you might have had earlier in the day. So, this cycle of energy depletion becomes a significant barrier over time. But if we bring ergonomics into play, again, if your workstation is designed for you and for the job that you do, it should support the body's natural positioning and posture, helping the muscles to be more efficient and reducing kind of excessive or unnecessary strain. So if you sit or stand in a position that keeps you aligned, well, then your muscles aren't going to have to work so hard just to keep the basic positioning and trying to keep you balanced, trying to keep you upright. So instead of straining to support this awkward position, your body can actually function more naturally and therefore conserve a bit of energy. So if we look at chair position, so if you have your chair adjusted, so in theory, your feet are on the floor or on a footrest at a 90-degree angle, instantly the body is better supported. Your hips and muscles don't have to work so hard, so your muscles can relax and work in their natural range of motion. Equally, if you've got a keyboard or a mouse that are right for you, you can position everything where the shoulders are relaxed, forearms are horizontal, wrists are straight. Therefore, we've less strain on the forearms and the hand. Small adjustments, but collectively make a big difference in how your body expends energy. So, by using an ergonomic piece of equipment or ergonomic setups, employees and you can experience less muscle fatigue, discomfort throughout the day. So, energy that was wasted on trying to compensate for these poor positions is now used to focus on the task at hand. In theory, then you should feel less strained as the day goes on, and you should feel an improved ability to maintain productivity and focus for longer periods. And then if we're looking at something that's cropped up recently is kind of the idea of how ergonomics can help with long-term fatigue. So in addition to just the day-to-day energy conservation, ergonomics and a good setup can help prevent the gradual buildup of physical fatigue over time. Because if you are constantly operating and working in an ergonomically sound environment, you're going to have less aches and pains. A routine that you're coming to work the next day feeling more refreshed and energized. It is not nice going home at the end of the workday with a sore back, neck, and shoulders, going to bed, getting up with a sore back, neck, and shoulders, and going back into the office. Um, you can feel exhausted and drained, and over time, this kind of build-up of discomfort can actually lead to chronic pain, burnout, drastically reducing your productivity, which then, of course, can cause you to fall behind in work or struggle in work, which can cause stress. And then we get this whole cycle that we've covered in previous podcasts, stress pain cycle. However, if your workstation is optimized, if your work area is optimized, well, then you're better equipped to sustain your energy levels, not just over the day, but over the whole week and months. Um, it's not just about comfort, ergonomics, it's also about efficiency and conserving energy. You're not expending excess energy on trying to maintain awkward positions and postures. You've got more stamina and energy to devote to your work. This boost in energy can just give you a more consistent level of productivity, better focus, and an increase in work quality, which should cause less stress. Again, keeping you well. Ergonomics will work with you to try and make sure that you feel energized and capable not just on a Monday morning, but on a Monday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, Friday afternoon. Keep it going throughout the week. The next area we're going to look at is improved workflow and efficiency. So, the way a workstation is organized can actually have a really big impact on workflow flow and efficiency. So, in a workstation that is, say, ergonomically sound, everything's arranged to minimize unnecessary movement and reach and strain. So, if we look at the desk, because again, this is kind of the area I deal with the most, if you have the things you use frequently, so your keyboard, your mouse, your phone, your notepad, if they're all placed within easy reach, it minimizes the need to twist, to stretch, to reach awkwardly, which actually can interrupt your workflow and strain the tissues in your body. So if you consider, for example, the placement of a telephone or a headset or a scanner on a desk, if you have to twist or bend or reach across your desk every time you want to answer the phone or you need to scan something, if you do it quite a lot, this repetitive motion can lead to discomfort in the shoulders, the lower back. And over time, these repetitive, inefficient movements are not only going to cause physical strain, but they'll actually slow down your workflow. And you're going to be pausing and trying to adjust your position and trying to get comfortable. But by identifying what equipment you use a lot during the day, frequently, and putting it within arm's length, ideally where you can kind of reach it without twisting or bending, instantly your workflow is going to become a bit smoother and a little bit more efficient. The same goes with the keyboard and the mouse. And the biggest one I see now is where people put notepads in front of themselves and put the keyboard beyond the notepad. So if your keyboard is positioned too far away from you, well, then you're going to have to reach forward, bend forward, strain in the shoulders, strain in the arms, and it just interrupts the natural flow of work, leading to discomfort and some wasted time as you're kind of trying to adjust yourself and get comfortable. In an ergonomically sound workstation or work area, it is usually designed to streamline work processes, making sure that everything you need is in its proper place and easily accessible without unnecessary effort. Now, this won't be possible for everything, so we really would look at what you use and how often. But this organization can help create a sense of flow where tasks can be done with minimal interruptions, minimal friction. So, for example, putting stuff like staplers and notepads where it's easily reachable means that you don't have as many interruptions to your focus and you don't have as much physical strain. And this can even extend to digital organization, as you can imagine, as we are in the digital age. Setting up multiple screens, using adjustable monitor arms to optimize everything so the screens and what you need to see is exactly where you need it to be in a neutral, relaxed position. It can boost your workflow by allowing you to multitask more effectively and avoid unnecessary delays by switching windows or trying to refocus things around. So, this is something we would look at when we're dealing with multi screen workstations, which most of them are at this point. A well designed workspace can also enhance your focus. So, if an employee is constantly changing their chair, shifting their screens, moving the keyboard, it is a distraction, as we said. It becomes harder to maintain mental focus on your task. So every time you or an employee pauses, they lose a small little bit, a small little fraction of concentration, which will add up over time. And ergonomics can address these by creating comfortable, supportive work environments that allows you to maintain your focus for longer. So a properly aligned chair supports the body in a way that reduces the need for constant little micro adjustments. When it's all set up to support and promote good positioning, again, we're going back to this distraction, less likely to be distracted by physical discomfort, allowing you to focus on your task. And by having a well organized desk where everything is within reach, you can experience fewer interruptions, thus creating a better physical flow, smoother workflow, and fewer distractions. And this hopefully should promote a deeper level of focus, allowing you to immerse yourself in your work and complete your tasks more efficiently. And If we look at ergonomics as a little productivity booster, an ergonomically sound workstation, it's not just going to enhance focus, but can also reduce decision fatigue, which is a very real thing, as I'm sure you know. When tools and resources are organized and accessible, you don't have to think about how to adjust your setup or where to find things. Your environment is going to support your ability to work with minimal interruption, freeing up more mental energy to devote to your actual main tasks. So, reducing unnecessary movements and discomfort, ergonomics will help create an environment where you can just work with fewer physical and mental distractions, ultimately boosting productivity by allowing you to flow from one task to another with a more seamless and efficient workflow. And if we look at the longer term benefits, in theory, ergonomics should support fewer sick days and increased engagement. So, if we have a look at ergonomics and health, the consequences of poor ergonomics are actually often more serious than the occasional discomfort, as any of you listening will know that's ever had a work related upper limb disorder, hurt your back. It can lead to chronic health issues that can actually affect your long term well being and productivity. And one of the most common results of a poorly designed workstation is repetitive strain injury, or SI, which essentially occurs when your muscles, tendons, and nerves are overused due to repetitive motions, awkward postures, and a lack of breaks. Really common in office workers who spend long hours typing on keyboards, using a mouse that's too far away, using a mouse in the wrong position, working between laptops and screens can cause repetitive strain injury. And if it's left untreated, it can lead to chronic pain, reduced mobility, and long term health complications, and can actually really impact not only your ability to work efficiently, but your actual functionality outside of work. Another condition that can be linked to poor ergonomics is carpal tunnel syndrome, which again is a form of an RSI and is very, very common. It's compression of the median nerve, can be caused by repetitive wrist movements. Prolonged sitting can also result in chronic back pain caused by slouching, unsupported lower back, or just constant pressure on the discs in the spine and the surrounding muscles when you don't move. If you suffer from any of these related health issues, you're more likely to require time off for treatment or recovery, leading to an increase in sick days. Beyond this, you may face a decreased work capacity, even when you're at work, often kind of referred to as presenteeism. We're here, but we're not at 100%. And over time, this not only reduces individual productivity, your own, but can have an impact on the overall organizational productivity. So, investing in ergonomics reduces the risk of such injuries, which can help both you, the employee, and the people you look after in the long term. By prioritizing ergonomics, a company can reduce the number of sick days taken by employees. When workers are comfortable, when workers feel supported by their workplace, they're going to experience fewer musculoskeletal problems and are less likely to need time off to recover from such injuries. And of course, this is going to have a direct impact on overall productivity because fewer employees are absent because of these issues. And additionally, fewer injuries will translate to lower healthcare costs, both for employees and employers. And if companies reduce the incidence of these chronic conditions like your back pains, your RSIs, you don't decrease just the number of sick days, but cut down on medical costs. Over time, these savings can justify the initial investment. So sometimes I know companies look at ergonomics as a bit of a money drain. But realistically speaking, it is minuscule when you compare it to the cost of lost productivity, lost days, replacing somebody that's off, and long term medical costs. Now, it's not just physical health that ergonomics can help with as regards productivity. It also has a really good impact on employee morale and engagement. And when a company invests in ergonomic assessments, ergonomic furniture, and tools, it sends a really clear message to employees that your health and well being matter, creates a sense of being valued, and this fosters a positive workplace culture where employees feel cared for and supported. If you're listening to this and you have ever worked somewhere that doesn't put a whole lot of thought into ergonomics, or into providing appropriate equipment, you will know what that feels like. You feel a little bit like the company doesn't care, like you are not valued. And that is going to have an impact, you will know, of how productive you'll be and how likely you are to take a little bit of time off, um, where maybe it's not 100% needed, and that's okay. And if you've ever left an environment like that and gone to work somewhere where ergonomics does matter and they do take the time to invest in assessments and ergonomic furnitures and adjustments, you feel listened to, you feel seen, and your concerns feel validated, which will make you feel valued and make you want to perform and work as well you can. So if you feel that your company is genuinely concerned about your comfort and your long term well being, going to boost your morale, going to boost your motivation. A well designed, comfortable work environment not only reduces physical strain, but also enhances a sense of job satisfaction, and you are more likely to engage deeply. Your employees are more likely to engage deeply with their tasks if you aren't distracted by discomfort, pain, and feeling essentially not valued, leading to a higher level of engagement and the emotional and intellectual commitment that you or an employee will have to your organization and the goals, because you'll feel valued and like you're a part of it. Increased engagement has a direct impact on productivity. If you are an engaged employee, if you have engaged employees, you're more likely to go above and beyond your regular duties, invest time and energy into your work, and contribute to a positive, collaborative workplace. You'll take ownership of your tasks, motivated to meet or exceed performance expectations. And research shows that highly engaged employees are more productive, creative, and more likely to stay with the company long term, which means that you don't have to keep investing in recruitment and training of staff that don't stay. By fostering a comfortable, supportive environment, companies encourage employees to perform at their best. If you can minimize discomfort, minimize pain, you're more likely to focus on your tasks. Employees are more likely to focus on their tasks, and this is going to improve, as we've said, individual productivity and the overall success and productivity within the organization. Today's job market is incredibly competitive, and I know employee retention is a key concern. I've heard it come up across many different platforms. High turnover can be expensive. If you're losing staff, hiring staff, training staff, it can be expensive, both in terms of lost productivity and the actual expense of recruiting and training staff. If you have a comfortable and ergonomically sound workplace, this can serve as a retention tool, helping to keep employees healthy, happy, and engaged in the long term. You're more likely to stay with a company that prioritizes your health and well being than somebody who doesn't. So, what are some simple adjustments that you can make that can lead to a big productivity gain? Because even small changes make a difference. And I found this over and over again doing DSE assessments and ergonomic assessments. Sometimes people can't believe the difference that a few little tweaks can make. So, if we make a few little adjustments, employees can reduce pain, improve posture, boost ability to focus, and work efficiently. And not all adjustments require a big expense. Of course, in the kind of cases where people have significant or specific underlying medical issues, obviously there might have to be a little bit of expense. But in general, the adjustments aren't expensive, or don't even require much of a time investment. They're quite easy to implement and can make a big difference. One of the most basic ones I have found is the chair height. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how many DSE assessments I do a month, but I would say on at least 70% of them, I'm changing the height of the chair. So one of the simplest and most impactful adjustments is getting the height of the chair right. The ideal chair height allows you to sit with your elbows level with your work surface and the feet supported. Two of these things need to be true. If you are seated with your elbows level with your work surface and your feet are dangling, can't reach the floor because, like me, you're not vertically blessed, that's not comfortable. It's not sustainable. You're going to fidget. You're going to shift around. You're going to get uncomfortable. If you sit with your feet flat on the floor, but your elbows are below the height of the desk or above it if you're really tall, that's not comfortable. That's not going to work in the long term. A good chair height promotes better alignment of the spine, the arms, the shoulders, promotes circulation in the legs, prevents you getting stiff, prevents that feeling of falling asleep. If you can see yourself properly aligned, elbows level, feet supported, you'll have less distraction, better able to maintain focus and concentration. So, for example, if the chair is too high for you to rest your feet on the floor when you have your elbows aligned, use a footrest. Screen positioning is another one, and it's really, really crucial to protect the neck and the eyes. If your screen is too low, you're going to be bending your head forward, which is going to cause neck strain and eye strain, because remember, the muscles that control the movement of the eyes start at the base of the skull. It's going to cause tension in the shoulders. However, if your screen is too high, it's going to cause you to tilt your head back, leading to discomfort again in the neck and the upper back. The best position for your screen is when you're sitting with your back supported and ear over shoulder. Your eye line should rest on the top 1/3 of your screen. If you are wearing varifocals, I would adjust that slightly, bring the screen down a little bit and tilt it backwards. Screen should be about arm's length away from you. If you cannot read the screen when it's arm's length away from you, you may need to go for an eye test and align the screens properly based on how you use them. So if you've got multiple screens, make sure they're the same height and positioned side by side. The exact position will depend on how much you use one versus the other, but generally you want them side by side. And keyboard and mouse placement. Keyboard and mouse positioning is essential to prevent strain in the upper limbs, wrists, arms, and shoulders. The keyboard and mouse should be positioned that when you're sitting with your shoulders relaxed, upper arms by your side, and elbows bent to about 90 degrees, you should be able to easily reach your keyboard and mouse in that position with straight wrists. If the keyboard's too high or if it's too far away, you're going to need to use the muscles in the neck and the shoulders to get your arms into the right position. If you let your shoulders relax, it's very likely you might start to have a little bit of contact stress. Keep the mouse and keyboard close. It prevents stretching and reaching, so your muscles don't have to do so much work. Sometimes wrist supports can help, and I don't like the term wrist supports, more like palm supports. They can help, but I would always use them carefully because we don't want pressure on the wrist. Even with a perfect, ergonomically sound workstation, it is still a challenge to maintain a good position throughout the day because we're not robots. Something might be on the screen that takes a lot of focus. You might instinctively and unconsciously lean towards it as you kind of get absorbed in the work. To try and minimize this, I would definitely, as always, recommend taking breaks. Get up from your desk at least once every 45 minutes. Go walk around, grab a glass of water, come back, refresh your muscles. Sometimes that poor positioning and slouching is just because the muscles got tired holding you in the one position. You get tired holding you in one position all day. Use break reminder apps if you need to. The amount of people that tell me, oh, I know I should move, but I can't. You can. There's very few jobs. I know we've got Teams meetings. I know we've got Zooms. But there's very few jobs that require someone to be at their desk for 4 hours continuously. I met someone today that did actually spend 3 to 4 hours continuously at their desk, and they don't do a lot of meetings. It's a pure habit. It's a learned behavior. Of course, there will be times you have a lot of meetings and it is a lot more difficult to manage mobility. But if you have an hour-long meeting, the first thing you should do in that meeting is always leave the desk. Go grab a glass of water, and if you're 1 minute late for the next meeting, so be it. The movement is more important. There are apps and tools as well you can get that alert users to kind of slouching positions. I don't really use them myself. They exist and it's something you want to look at. Of course you can. It's not something I use myself. I believe more in the power of the mobility and the micro breaks. You can also get kind of posture correcting accessories like kind of support cushions for the lumbar spine, backrests, footrests, they can all be used to try and correct your position. But ultimately, if you're in the position for too long, muscles are going to get tired holding you there. You can have all the posture correcting cushions you want. If you're sitting there for too long, you're going to start to round down on yourself, or you're going to shuffle the hips forward in the seat and flatten the lumbar curve. You need to move by allowing people to move. So things like organizing different tasks, making sure there's breaks in between each meetings, by reminding employees to take breaks, you can promote a real sense of well-being and promote long-term health. Simple changes and have a massive impact. The benefits of these adjustments that we've talked about, they do go beyond just physical comfort. By having everything set up to suit you and what you do, I'm going to say it again, you're going to be more comfortable, fewer distractions, more productive, more focused. In the long run, investing in assessments, because self assessment, obviously within Ireland, self assessment is not compliant. You do need someone to come in, a competent person, be it somebody from within your own company or somebody from outside, somebody that's trained and competent to work with people to make these adjustments. It's going to pay off. You're going to have healthier, happier, more engaged employees who will consistently perform at their best. I feel ergonomics is actually a small investment with big returns. If we look at it beyond the individual level, it is often viewed as a measure to reduce physical discomfort and prevent injuries. But the benefits go beyond that. Ergonomic improvements will lead to a ripple effect throughout the workplace, an environment where employees feel heard, seen, supported, focused, and engaged. The initial outset, for example, equipment, desks, chairs, monitors, might seem like a big cost, but the returns are substantial in terms of productivity and satisfaction. And that goes for you on an individual level. If you are looking at your workstation going, God, I need a new chair, but geez, the chair I want is €400. Well, you could pay the €400 or you could pay €600 to €800 in physio. You know what I mean? The initial cost can seem a lot, but in the long term, it will pay you back multiple times. Obviously, if we summarize, the most immediate benefit is the reduction of injuries and discomfort, often caused by poor position, repetitive movements, contact strength, or awkward postures. By addressing these, you can reduce the number of injury-related absences on a company level, healthcare costs. Employees who feel fatigued are more likely to experience chronic pain. So by keeping them physically comfortable, you're allowing them to remain engaged and productive for longer. It can obviously, as we have touched on, very much enhance productivity. If you're not distracted by pain or discomfort, you're going to focus better. So ergonomic adjustments can really, really help, and the cumulative effect is massive boost in productivity. You're going to have fewer interruptions due to discomfort, able to maintain focus for longer. Companies that invest in ergonomic interventions often experience productivity gains between 25 and 50%. And it's not just in the result of fewer injuries and absences, but enhanced focus and long-term retention. You want your employees to stay. You've trained them. You've hired them. They are doing a good job and you want them to stay. If you take proactive steps to create a comfortable, supportive workspace, it sends a clear message that their well-being is a priority. Sense of value increases, employee morale, motivation, loyalty. A comfortable ergonomic environment enables employees to perform at their best, fostering a sense of accomplishment and work satisfaction. Engaged employees are not only more productive, but more likely to remain with you. And it will translate into better performance, less errors, and just that willingness to go the extra mile. You know, if you've worked for a company that look after you, you'll do the extra little bit and you won't mind doing it because you know that it's valued. The return on investment comes, again, not only in the form of reduced injuries, but higher productivity, lower turnover, and ability to attract and retain your talent. So ultimately, investing in ergonomics is a win-win, both for you and for your employer. It's a very competitive business landscape, and attracting and retaining talent is really, really crucial. Ergonomics does provide a clear advantage. It demonstrates a company's commitment to employee well-being, boosts operational efficiency and performance. What seems like a small investment, again, as I've said, will just pay you back over and over and over. And the same goes at an individual level. Yes, the keyboard, the mouse, the desk might be a big initial outlay, but it will pay you back over and over. To achieve these results, employees should obviously have regular assessments, at least every 2 years. Employees should be offered training, shown how to use their equipment, shown how to position everything. If you are self-employed, these kind of trainings do exist. You can do online trainings. You can enlist the services of myself or other ergonomic professionals. We don't just work with companies, we work with individuals too. There's plenty of assistance out there. Sometimes you just have to go looking for it. But by making it a priority, you can be healthier, happier, and more productive. And your employees can be healthier, happier, and more productive. And that really benefits everyone. So that is the end of my little bit of a deep dive into the role of ergonomics in boosting productivity. Very much sounds like a big, long sales pitch for ergonomics, I think, in the end. And you can see why it took me a while to pull this together because there were so many strands to it. But I really hope there was some information in there that was useful and beneficial for you. And please, like I said at the start, do share with anyone you think might be interested in it. And go ahead and rate us in whatever platform that you listen to this in. As always, the link to the blog post on this episode and all my various social media handles are in the show notes if anyone wants to get in touch. I would love, again, as always, if anyone has any ideas for a topic you'd like me to cover, please get in touch. I'm always happy to take suggestions. That was the 50th episode. I do hope I'm here for 50 more. And until next time, everyone, stay well.